Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
I'm Jacob.
Today, we're finally getting around to talking about The Batman. It's been a long time coming.
Indeed it has.
You know, it's been out for a little while.
Yeah, we were a bit late to the party, admittedly.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not been widely available to a lot of people because of, you know, stuff going on and people holding back the release of things online. It's annoying.
Licensing is always an issue and everything, and obviously you have to patiently wait for the streaming date and all that when it's finally available to you and all that. And it does make it tricky when you're not really the go out and get them kind of guy.
Yeah, but I mean, we shall be finally delving into the great battle between the Batman and the Riddler. But before that, you know, we're going to talk about another fairly recent release and how we're not going to be talking about that one.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Or 3 this one.
Is it 3, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't keep track of the terse bullshit.
I can tell by the enthusiasm in your voice you're very excited about these films.
I'm very excited that it'll no longer be re-released.
So, yeah, that's out and we're not going to talk about it.
Don't watch it.
Don't
Get the slag any more money.
Yeah. Not to be so, well, I mean, you don't want to stoop down to their level, but even then I don't think we could.
I don't give a f*** else it did. F*** off, take it all, you stupid shithead. Start treating trans people like real people.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
You goddamn monster.
it's really quite shocking how someone who claimed to... You know, I was always sort of in her corner to a point where I was sort of thinking she at least changed the attitudes of young people and, you know, sort of presented a fairly open-minded, you know, standing up against bigotry story.
But then you look back on it as an adult and you realise, oh wow, these books are messed up.
And if anything, I think it inspired a lot of people, a lot of young people, to be more open-minded and considerate of other things which they might not have.
Yeah, and because we didn't realise all the nasty stuff in the background of those books, we just kind of accepted it. And like, yeah, this is good, this is great, I grew up with this is fantastic. Then you realise she's just a warrior for the status quo and doesn't actually want to change anything, so... And then she kept saying more and more stupid stuff. Like, oh, wizards just take a dump in the halls and magic cleans us up.
Yeah, I think that was something which could have been treated as like a real WTF moment for non-magic users to find that out.
Yeah, if I was a muggle, as she bloody calls them, in Hogwarts, I'd be like, what the hell are you doing, man? Clean your shit up. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
What are you, a dog?
All wizards are dogs. Makes sense. But basically, yeah, we're not going to talk about it any more than what we are.
No. Don't support the turf.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, they've basically looked at the negative reception of the last few and sort of gone and treated this one like it is the potential end.
Yeah, thank God for that.
Yeah, you know, the plot of the last one was, you know, Wizard Hitler revealed that he wanted to stop World War II from happening, and the wizards wanted to stop him from doing that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Oh, she's anti-Semitic as well as a transphobe. That's wonderful. Mind you, if you look at the characters in the movies and books, there's a lot of really troubling stereotypes.
There's a YouTuber called Sean who did this video breakdown on the book series, and he says it's like every book that came along was kind of like a reaction to what came before. So she introduced the concept of house elves, and then they're completely absent in the next book. And then people might have been like, well, what about the house elves? What about this, you know, slavery which exists within this universe? And then the next book addresses it. I think he even said like this whole, what were the wizards doing during World War II is kind of like well, this is what they were doing. You know, now we're going to explore that in a multi-billion-dollar franchise, you know.
Oh, making sure the Holocaust happened.
Oh, dear. Fun.
Yeah, don't watch it. Don't support her. Don't buy anything of her stuff. Just no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. A few friends of mine and myself collected Harry Potter Lego, and that was, I think, sort of realised a lot of my fandom for the series came from the video games and the Lego.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
PS1 Hagrid.
Oh, God.
Hello, Harry. Anyway, we're here to finally talk about The Batman.
Yes.
As we said, it's been a long time coming.
Oh, yes, certainly has.
And
we've put it off long enough.
We just watched it before we sat down to review this.
So it's still nice and fresh in our minds.
Yeah, what did you think about The Batman?
I do think it was quite a well-crafted story. I do like the portrayal of the Riddler. However, his design, I had some issues with. I thought it was a bit very different to the designs we've seen him in the past.
It's sort of edgy for the sake of being edgy, almost.
Yeah, it just feels kind of like they said, well, how can we make this Riddler different? And in doing so, made him look like a tool.
And you were talking about how you're not a fan of the Batman's like look in this, like his ears are too
Not that
short.
I'm not a fan. I've got no issue with it. I don't hate the look. It's just very different to what I'm used to. Like he seems sharper.
More angular.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole aesthetic they've gone for with this, the Batman.
So Batman's design, I don't have a problem with, but the Riddlers it just wasn't doing it for me. The performance, the portrayal was fantastic.
Absolutely.
It's just his costume basically was like, it's a bit weird.
Very strange.
Luckily, the actor did a good enough job that I just didn't mind.
Yeah. Something that stood out to me was the colour palette. And, obviously, given what came before, which was so influential and continues to impact upon the character of Batman to this day.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
You can't help but sort of make something without people feeling like you're just ripping off the Batman that came previously.
And that is the issue with these kind of things.
So I did feel a bit, maybe because the Riddler was in this, there was a lot of green.
Yeah, but the thing is, that was like one of the only real pops of colour in it. The rest was just quite dark and grungy, as you'd expect from Batman. But yeah, a lot of green from the Riddler really made that pop.
Yeah. As for performances, I mean, Robert Englund as the Riddler.
Oh, fantastic. Loved him.
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger himself is bringing it down. Always a pleasure to hear him.
Yeah, he brings a real menace and malice to the Riddler, more so than the animated series Batman, which is the previous Batman we were talking about. Yeah.
And quite sinister, quite cunning, and he's fun.
Yeah.
The voice is a lot better than the costume.
Yeah.
A battle of wits, a duel of intellects, a night of riddles scattered throughout Gotham for you to solve. And you alone. Hear that, Chief? You never know when I'll be watching or listening. And if I hear anyone help with answers or see police uniforms anywhere near Detective Yin, Gotham loses big time.
Yeah, he looks like a weird sort of gothic, Marilyn Manson reject, which is a whole lot of yikes nowadays considering what's going on with Marilyn Manson.
Yeah. He looks like Marilyn Manson's stripper career.
Yeah. Oh, Jake, we've gone all this time, and I think people don't realise what Batman we're talking about.
Oh, yeah, no, we probably should have specified. We're talking about I think it was Season 2, Episode 2 of the 2000s Batman animated series. The one that came after the original animated series.
Yes, not the Robert Pattinson movie. We haven't seen that yet.
No, we're still going to run to that one. No, this is the episode about the Riddler in that series, which is kind of like his introductory episode.
Yeah, well, I went through the episodes and he didn't show up till Series 2, which is quite strange, one of the more prominent.
Iconic legacy villain of Batman's.
They introduced Cluemaster first, though.
It was just discount Riddler.
Pretty much, yeah. They did a complete redesign with his character where he was like a morbidly obese former children's game show contestant who was sad about losing. So
that's questionable.
Yeah. Somehow I don't think he had a daughter who went on to become spoiler in this universe.
No, I don't think so somehow.
So yes, The Batman was a mid-2000s animated series and, yeah, definitely lived in the shadow of the animated series.
Which is a shame, because it was quite good in its own right. It had a lot of great points to it.
It did, especially with the character design, all those pointy designs.
A lot of the designs are quite fantastic. I just wasn't a big fan of the Riddlers, personally. I just felt the whole Marilyn Manson kind of techno-goth look didn't really fit the character.
It's surprising with Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger as the Riddler.
You think they would have gone for a more horrific design for Riddler if they got to go Robert Englund?
It's surprising, yeah. You think they would go all out, but it's almost good they showed restraint in that regard.
Yeah, but Robert Englund's fantastic. He is Freddy Krueger, so the fact is he voicing the Riddler is just awesome to me.
Yeah. And the plot of this episode begins with a bunch of bombs set up to blow, and there's a riddle, and the bomb unit don't know what to do.
Classic old Riddler. Episode.
Detective Yen, who was in this series in place of Jim Gordon for the first few series.
Essentially, yeah. She was kind of the Jim Gordon, Renee Montoya stand-in.
Yeah, she's kind of a blend of the two. And she's got an alliance with Batman, who's very technologically advanced.
Oh, he's got like jetpack bat wings and stuff in this one. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's got some incredible batarangs, like the one that just seemed to be remote controlled, spun on its own, and
basically worked as a buzzsaw.
Yes.
Had his smoke bomb that could literally just blow up the floor. A little excessive, but you do you, Bruce.
Yeah, it was a bit like...
Oh, spoilers, Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Oh, God. That was a secret. Because this series was made in the mid-2000s, it does feel very modern still.
It does.
It does feel not so much of that era, but kind of like you'd almost have like a smartphone-like device.
Yeah, the animation style also feels very... Not this current generation of animation, but the previous generation.
It's some of the character designs reminded me of Ben 10.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
The Riddle men, especially, like with their slitted like glass goggles. It's very just Ben 10 to me.
Oh yeah, no, I can see that definitely. And they've got quite exaggerated features in some characters. The proportions are also very Ben 10 in a lot of places.
Yeah, the Joker was infamous because he was very monkey-like, and he's got this lion's mane of like dreadlock hair.
Which was an interesting choice. Not one I personally dislike. I was kind of a fan of it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. And there's Kevin Michael Richardson, who played him, who did his own take. He's a very deep-voiced, commanding actor. He played Captain Gantu in Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the main roles he did that comes to mind. He's got that deep voice, he trog, you know.
Which is an interesting choice for the Joker, but that does make him a very different rendition.
Yeah, because, I mean, Joker's like everyone's comparing to Mark Hamill.
Exactly. Again, this is the living in the shadow of his previous series, because very few actors have really beaten Mark Hamill's rendition of the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Joker actors, in the vocal sense, we've had Kevin Michael Richardson, we've had Michael Emerson, who was in Lost and Saw. He delivered a very creepy Joker in the Dark Knight Returns movies. Brent Spiner, Data from Star Trek The Next Generation, played him in Young Justice. And
Which is a shame, because I really didn't like the Joker in Young Justice.
yeah, he looks like a 10th Doctor.
It was very deflated. Both in
Joker-fied.
personality and in appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, we're bringing up a picture.
Yeah, why not? Let's have a look-see.
He just looks very
Ooh, that's different.
bland. Even the voice, as much as I adore Brent Spiner, which is so subdued for what the character is.
Yeah, look at those bloody sideburns. It's definitely...
Yeah, sideburns, just this bitty mop of hair, a very subdued voice. It didn't really work for the Batman, for Joker.
No.
Which is a shame, because I adore Brent Spiner.
The Batman in The Batman was voiced by an actor called Rino Romano. Look him up. He, Canadian actor.
He was also in Curious George.
And Knights of the Old Republic. He voiced Spider-Man, it seems, by...
Huh.
He did quite a lot of Spider-Man.
He's done quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. Oh, she's Darth Revan.
Oh, he was Luis from Resident Evil 4. Damn, he's got a bit of a pedigree doing this.
Yeah, wow.
Not pedigree, sorry. I've forgotten the word I was looking for.
Back catalogue of characters.
Yeah, that's a better word.
Riddler's been leading us away from the main course, further from the truth, all night long.
Which is?
Beneath the last place we'd think to look. Again.
So the whole deal with the Batman series is that it's a younger Batman. I remember in the very first episode he's like 26 years old.
Yeah, so it's a bit more Batman going through the motions of his first few years of his crime-fighting career.
It's kind of funny that this episode we saw with the Riddler sort of has those parallels with the Batman movie, where he's got an uneasy alliance with the police detective, and he's a year or two in his career.
Yeah, so he's still pretty bit fresh to this. He's still a smutty poo-poo pants.
So yeah, Riddler's rigged up a bunch of bombs, and there's a riddle that needs to be solved. Detective Yin doesn't know what it is. The other detectives don't know what it is. Batman shows up and figures it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's this. The riddle is riddle.
Yes.
Good one, Riddler. Good one.
So Batman takes a step into the shadows as Yin steps forward and communes directly with the Riddler, who basically tests her in a fashion that's very similar to Die Hard 3.
It does feel very Die Hard 3 at this point.
To drive around the city and solve a bunch of puzzles.
And stop a bunch of bombs from blowing up.
Yeah, and Batman's there kind of keeping back and giving her help where she needs it. And we were sort of commenting as we were watching it how we usually can't figure out what riddles are. Like, I mean, when it comes to Batman, it's figured out so quickly.
Yeah.
We don't have a chance, but with this, we actually did a few.
Yeah, I actually got a couple, which is a surprise of me, because I'm usually dumb as a sack of bricks.
Everything in me is ancient? These riddles hurt my brain!
Chief, we located Yin heading for the museum.
Everything in me is ancient? How did she get museum out of that?
Yeah, what was everything in me is ancient.
It's like a museum.
Yeah, you got it. And the police chief, played by John DiMaggio, Bender himself, couldn't figure it out. Jake the dog as well from Adventure Time.
Yeah.
And what was the other one?
A man builds a house with all four sides facing north. A bear walks past the house. What color is the bear?
Polar bears they're not down there in the South Pole.
Taking a risk, aren't you?
There are no bears at the South Pole. This riddle has no answer.
Riddler cheated?
Riddler quit. He's through playing.
No, and I forgot about that. They're northern.
Penguins are down south and polar bears are up north. The two never meet. Seals, though. Seals and penguins.
Seals and penguins, they don't get along great.
Not at all. Not at all. Oh, remember Happy Feet?
Never actually watched Happy Feet, surprisingly.
Really?
I know.
Yeah.
I really feel like I missed out on something.
It's one of those films where it takes several dark turns. And it's not just because of George Miller directing it. You go in expecting a tap dancing penguin film, and then it does some other stuff, and there's still tap dancing and singing throughout. But it's kind of like, oh, this is bizarre.
Is it as grim as Watership Down?
No.
Good, because God damn, that movie messed me up as a kid.
Yeah, Watership Down is
It's
depressing.
like, oh, bunny movie. Oh, bunnies!
You know they did a CGI remake of that a few years ago?
It's a terrible idea.
Yeah. John Boyega was in it at the same time that Daisy Ridley was in Peter Rabbit.
Huh.
Both playing rabbits.
Go figure, right?
Yeah, how about that? That's a ship. Oh, dearie me. Batman, that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
So you were talking about how you've seen most, if not all, of the Batman series.
A lot of them, yeah. Growing up, I was a big Batman fan, always have been. Well, comic book cartoons in general, I love growing up. So I've kind of absorbed a lot of the cartoons over the years. Anyone I've probably seen more of is X-Men than Batman.
Ah, yes. Well, we're doing an X-Men podcast on that, so
Indeed.
you've heard a few episodes of that here on the radio. But yeah, this one, like I said, kind of lives in the shadow of the animated series. Everyone just goes on and on and on about that, but this series is kind of comparable in a way, like you have X-Men Evolution in the mid-2000s, early 2000s.
Exactly, which is the younger rendition of the X-Men. This feels like the X-Men Evolution for Batman. So you shouldn't judge it too heavily from the previous one, because it's doing its own thing. It's doing its own rendition of Batman's story.
And style-wise as well, it's very similar in some regards, and the colour palette and the character designs.
Yeah.
You can kind of see the two blending together.
You could, but luckily the designs they use in this one, they do tend to make it feel more what this series is, which is younger, a bit more. Younger, updated, a bit more sleeker and angular. So it does give it a different feel, and all the villains have their own little renditions that are a bit different to the animated series. So they were trying to do their own thing.
Yeah.
It's just because it's the one that came directly after the animated series, it's always going to, unfortunately, be stuck living in its shadow.
Because they could sort of push those character designs so extreme. I mean, look at the Riddler's waist and hips, and they're like...
Yeah, he's...
Wrapped.
I could snap him like a twig.
Yeah. And it's surprising Batman doesn't, considering. And Joker had the very long limbs and, like I said, very monkey-like and just very extreme. I really like the Catwoman in this, how she just was sort of like long and, again, slender and just felt flexible and like she could actually do things. Whereas I think in the animated series, she kind of just felt a bit like they didn't fully explore that side of her.
Yeah.
And this side, Poison Ivy was interesting, how she was a childhood friend of Batgirl's. So like she was only a teenager when she turned. So they toned down the more adult aspects to the character.
Which
and
I think is a wise decision in
Yeah.
this regard.
gave her an interesting hairdo. But yeah, this, like I said, this series kind of just exists in the shadow of all that came before.
And that is, as always, these things, quite a shame. Because it's a good series. It's a good Batman series.
It's just unfortunate, as we were saying, that this isn't widely available anywhere. I mean, there might be a DVD release or something.
Yeah, it's actually pretty hard to track down, which is curious. But yeah, if you can track it down, give it a watch. It's a good watch. It's a good series. Most of the Batman cartoons have been quite good anyway.
Batman the Animated Series is on Stan, apparently.
Huh.
Huh, how about that?
It's also my hard drive. What?
Well, that's the thing, you know, if you go and prevent the availability of these things, you're only going to hurt yourself, isn't it?
Exactly. Remember, when was just Netflix? I mean, one other thing, we all just went and subscribed to Netflix and stuff. When they got split up between 10 different ones, well, the pirate hats came back out.
Yeah. Frank Gorshin, who played the Riddler back in the 1960 series, was apparently in this.
Huh.
He played... Oh, Hugo Strange, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow, that's different. Adam West played the mayor. Mark Hamill played Tony Zuko, who's one of the many mobsters within this.
So they got a few classic actors to come back and play little characters, which is always fun.
Jason Marsden, Boone himself.
Yeah, no, it's a good watch. If you're a Batman...
It's Ming-Na Wen is Ellen Yin.
Okay. No one needs to see us run out of here together, and I get to keep my badge.
That's cool, but I'm
I
more
thought
looking
I
at the
recognised.
fact that Killer Croc was by my boy, Ron Perlman.
Yeah, did you see what he looks like in that?
I actually can't remember. It's been quite a while since I've watched the entire series.
Looks like you had a busy night. That's good. 'Cause you're all working for me now.
Yeah, big lizard man.
Yeah, no, I quite like the proportions on him. Felt like shrunken down Godzilla.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. I love the exaggerated proportions of this era of animation. It was very fun to watch. Of course, most of the women were still just stick figures, but you get what you take what you can get.
Yeah. Bane I liked because he had like two different... He had the depowered mode and the powered up mode.
Yeah, and the powered up mode would just look like Red Hulk. Well, powered up Bane looks very Ben 10.
Oh, yeah, very much
Like
so.
extremely Ben 10.
I think there was like a forearms or something. It was like a big four-armed alien with red skin.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's the one.
you're right, yeah.
Yep, very reminiscent of that.
But yeah, hopefully this series does get a wider release because
It's well worth the watch.
I hope as well it gets, some good merch, action figures and stuff. They did a good bunch of animated series action figures a few years ago. So
Yeah, so you might get some more legacy action figures come out for them, which would be fantastic.
yeah, I mean, I'd buy that for $40.
We are not smart with our money.
No, we're not. No. Well, what else can we buy? We can't buy a house. Let's buy action figures.
Exactly. You've got to find some rational indulgence in life.
Yeah.
To stave off the void of depression.
As Daniel Radcliffe said, it could be worse. It could be heroin,
Exactly. Mind you, I'm a smoker, so I guess I can't get too judgmental. But still.
Too many coffees for you. Anyway. So yeah, that's our thoughts on The Batman. That was episode 2 of series 2 we watched, which introduced the Riddler, played by Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger himself. And yeah, if you can find it anywhere, check it out.
Well worth the watch. Good old series. Definitely enjoyable. Just don't compare it to the other series because they're two very different series trying to do different things.
Do you remember Beware the Batman? It was an animated like CGI series from about 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, that was an obscure one.
It had more obscure Batman villains like Magpie and Professor Pig.
Which I love. I love when they get the obscure villains because the obscure
Yeah.
villains are often so much more interesting than the mainline villains.
Yeah.
Professor Pig terrifies me.
Yeah.
For
he's-
me, he is Batman's scariest villain because he's just a psychopath.
Oh, yeah. And that in the kids' show, which didn't last very long. But it did kind of feel like there was a new Batman cartoon coming out every year.
Yeah, there was a lot back then because Batman's always been the go-to poster boy for DC Comics and stuff. So, which
Yeah.
is weird because you'd think he'd be Superman.
Yeah. Well, people like Batman, so, wouldn't have all these movies if it
I just
wasn't
want
popular.
them to give us a goddamn Batman, Superman, buddy cop, and not cops because they're not cops, they're superheroes.
Someone was saying Ted Lasso was actually the best live-action dynamic of Batman and Superman. Optimistic Superman and the grumpy player whose name I forgot as the more Batman
Which is
character.
great because whenever the comic book writers stop playing around and actually let Bruce and Clark be friends, it's wonderful. I love their dynamic. I love their friendship. It's adorable. It's hilarious. It's awkward. It's brilliant. They just don't give it to us enough.
Yeah.
Which is kind of why they gave us so much of the Super Sons, which is Damien and
Yes.
Superman's kid. And seeing those two interact is just always fun because they're polar opposites. But they're still best friends and it's adorable.
Yeah. And bloody Zack Snyder just wants to give, do you bleed? You will. Ugh.
Who asks that? Who asks that kind of question? Dude, Batman, no. Manners, Batman.
Yeah. Would you say that's a Wonder Woman?
No, because Wonder Woman would snap him in half.
Yeah, she should have.
She hasn't quite got the same qualms as Clark does.
Kal-El, no. Tommy Wiseau was Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I was going to say it's... But yes.
Death on the Nile's come out. We should talk about that sometime.
Oh, yeah. I
The
like
new
Kenneth
Poirot
Branagh.
films. Give those a watch, yeah.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh. Great to watch it.
That's a future episode. Tune in for that.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm Royce,
I'm Jacob.
and we'll see you next time. Bye
Cheers.
for now.